God, well, anywhere beneath 14th Street.
And the fun and the cultural element.
It's like this self-induced schizophrenia.
Well, I just thought you might not like what I've done and want to do something about it.
Sorry, I never know when I'm going to get in trouble.
This is WVFP.
I wanted to ask you about like the idea of anti-nihilism and what do you mean by that, and what do you think the problem with nihilism is, or what do you think?
For sure, by nihilism and that piece and in general, like I'm kind of referring to how easy it is on the internet to discount other people's humanity and to just like make them into like a punching bag or make them into just a representative of what you don't like. And I feel in that piece I also like I kind of do that and then like deconstruct it is what I'm like trying to do of like, I'm going to make all these caricatures of people I don't like and then I'm going to humanize them and humanize why someone want to be around them in the first place.
Right.
And I think and part of why I chose nihilism and not like fascism, it was like internet fascism, was because I wanted to kind of drive in the point that it's like thinking that it's just people you don't agree with who do this is like kind of like not getting the point. It's like that this is like a widespread affect that's bred in people who use Twitter and people who go on 4chan, but also people who just go on TikTok, people who like post on Instagram. Like, and we're all inundated by social media and we're all inundated by like this like kill switch, this like gun essentially that we can just point at other people and decide that they're like not real. I like not just in the sense of like, oh, like tearing people down on the internet, but like a really what feels like this almost like sort of ontological or like kind of like site thing where you just like you decide or someone else decides that like you're not a person. And I think it's of course like filtered through politics, but also like porn and like gooning unironically, like that someone is just like a fetish and it's just like or it's
the
like,
fetishizing of other people.
Yeah, and that.
Do you think it's a lot like an effect like the way people act in their cars, which is very
like get road rage,
they get road rage. They're protected, and they can kind of like their car is like an avatar.
Of course,
and they they like give themselves permission to be really angry at another vehicle. Yeah, like you're allowed to curse and like
you're like really like say like vulgar things, sort of tearing this like hypothetical person apart. Yeah, it's like and the phone allows us to do that.
There's a gamification.
It's a gamification of it, and also like a way of like feeling good about yourself. Whether that's like sort of like a weird kind of like sexual empowerment or like a self-righteousness or in like thinking that you're smarter and better and more based than other people. It's all kind of the same. But and it's nihilism because it's comes from alienation, I think.
Right.
Like a deep, deep alienation that we all like kind of try to like turn back on each other, but it just swallows all of this.
When I started this show, I was screaming about nihilism. I don't think the issue's gotten less. I think it's gotten more. But I struggle with the parts of nihilism that are a byproduct of becoming. There's a part of becoming, whether it's good or bad, that leaves some nihilism in its wake as like a waste, which is like, if you're going to imagine a different social order or something's going to change, somebody has to be the nihilist that eschews what's happening in order to like make a new inroad. And so as a person's becoming, there's often a nihilistic waste to it. But that's not really the nihilism I'm worried about. So I'm torn. There's some ambiguity between the nihilism that's a byproduct of change and institutional nihilism, which encourages you to not worry about how other people are affected by things, encourages you not to worry about the effect of what you're consuming, on the internet or whatever, because that's how you buy more.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point because there's like kind of two sides of nihilism. Like, are you saying that I was thinking of Nietzsche and how there's like a seriousness to unbelief, like in the famous God is Dead. Story, the madman, like he's really like anguished over this. He's not like, haha, God's dead, kill yourself. He's like crying. He's like breaking down in the street.
I think for all of the effect of Nietzsche, he's kind of putting up a bluff about nihilism because then he suggests ways to create new principles, which is not nihilism, and that's the waste kind of thing I'm talking about. The nihilism comes out of becoming, but it's really about whether that's successful or not.
Yeah,
right?
and it's also the story of like the Russian nihilists. Like at the beginning, it was sort of like an emancipatory thing of like we're gonna like make fun of the czar and like of
Right.
like orthodox of like the church. All this means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. We'll like parade and that's sort of like a liberatory moment. But then like that movement like spiraled inwards on itself because then they're like, oh, like nothing means anything, and they were like, oh,
Right.
you know, I had to give way to something.
Yeah,
else.
like the
Yeah.
fundamentalist, the person who's a fundamental nihilist is not the person who's a conventional nihilist.
Mhm.
You know, what's the Greek philosopher? You might have to help me here. You know, I'm pissing in the streets because I don't like.
Oh
social
yes,
convention.
him. Diogenes.
Diogenes.
Yeah, Diogenes. Yeah. He's like lived in like a barrel on the
That's
street.
kind of like conventional nihilism that's about flaunting conventional norms or social
Yeah.
norms. That's not really like a tune in, turn on, drop out nihilism,
Yeah.
which I think is more the problem
Mhm.
in our current millennium, is the idea that nothing ever happens,
Yeah,
No-
nothing ever happens.
right? Which is a nihilism.
This is like an acquiescence because then like there will be certain things that they will just like accept as real, like the market, like the need to make money, or they'll be like, oh, but like you have to be a realist about immigration or whatever, and they won't like they will still have their sacred cows, they will still have their things that are untouchable that they just like do, but because they have so much scorn for like criticality for caring too much,
Right,
then like they won't see the contours of their own ideology,
right.
and they yeah.
Do you think this is like, I tie it straight to the rise of cryptocurrency, which is not just about
Yeah.
gamification of everything, but also the valueification,
Yes.
like of these things, you know? So like the problem is that the market wants you to not care
yeah.
about too much about things.
Mhm.
You know, don't care about the war, don't think about social problems, because like when you're doing that, you're not making the market go
Exactly.
up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Your life is your capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.